morning. Would she ever doubt the way I feel about her in my heart? Yes, tomorrow never comes. Will she know how much I love her? Did I try in every way to show her every day that she's my only one? And if my time on earth were through, she must face this world without me. Is the love I gave in the past gonna be enough to last? Tomorrow never comes. I've lost loved ones in my life who never knew how much I loved them. Now I live with no regret that my true feelings for them never were revealed. So I made a promise to myself, say today how much she means to me, and avoid that circumstance where there's no second chance to tell her how I feel. 'Cause if tomorrow never comes, will she know how much I love her? Did I try in every way to show her every day that she's my only one? And if my time on earth were through, she must face this world without me. Is the love I gave in the past gonna be enough to last? If tomorrow never comes, so tell that someone that you love just what you're thinking of. If tomorrow never comes.
Still my heart and hold my tongue. I feel my time has come. Let me in, unlock the door. I never felt this way before. The wheels just keep on turning. The drummer begins to drum. I don't know which way I'm going. I don't know which way I've come. Hold my hand inside your hands. I need someone who understands. I need someone who hears. For you I've waited all these years. For you I've waited till kingdom come, until my day is done, and say you'll come. your tears and in your blood, in your fire and in your flood. I hear you laugh, I heard you sing. I wouldn't change a single thing. The wheels just keep on turning, the drum is beginning to drum. I don't know which way I'm going, I don't know what I've become. For you I'd wait till kingdom come, until my days are done. You say you'll come and set me free. Just say you'll wait for me. Just say you'll wait for me. Just say you'll wait for me.
For those of you who may not know, that was Grammy and Grandpa's song. And the previous song by Garth Brooks was one that Grandpa dedicated to little Grammy. Thank you all for coming and celebrating with us Grammy's life. And that's what this is. This is a celebration of Grammy's life, what she left for us, the examples that she gave to us. She was an amazing person. Evelyn Marie Click, one of the most wonderful people that you could ever find in the world. And if you knew her personally, you were privileged and you were blessed in your life. Her examples of kindness and love and humility and dedication that she left are of a very rare value. And I know they live with every one of us who knew her. She was known as a daughter, a mom, a sister, a Grammy, a great-grandma, a friend, and a sister in Christ. She was daughter to Stanley and Fern Rainey, and she was born on December 29th of 1931. She was born in Kansas City, Missouri. She was younger sister to Eldon, who has now passed on, and was followed by Joanne, Jack, Carol, and Harold. Harold is as well passed from this world. After Evelyn graduated from East High in Kansas City, the family moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico, and they attended the Church of Christ in Albuquerque, where Evelyn met a very handsome young man named Evelyn Click. They began a long and a drawn-out relationship that would last all of 2 weeks before they were married, March 7th of 1950. They were the perfect match. And they would stay together and in love through easy and also through many hard times the rest of their lives for the next 59 years. Burnley and Evelyn would move back and forth between Tucson and Kansas City for the next several years. Their daughters Debbie and Sherry were born in Kansas City, and John and Jenny were born in Tucson. They lived in several houses, but the one that they all remember the most was where the kids grew up on 27th Street. And in 1974, they moved to Sierra Vista, Arizona, where they remained for the rest of their lives. Grammy was a homemaker most of her life, and she worked for a short time, though, in a fabric store and also as a waitress in an Italian restaurant. She says she once recalled carrying a big tray full of glasses of water and felt the tray starting to slip, and says she somehow managed to escape disaster by saving the tray and not even tipping any of the glasses. She had 4 children, 17 grandchildren, 33 great-grandchildren, and 2 great-great-grandchildren. All of us kids recall very well, I know, growing up in Grammy's house. We were always welcomed and we were always wanted. She cared for us. She corrected us. She encouraged us. She loved us. If you weren't doing what was right, she would gently and lovingly bring it out to you and encourage you. If you didn't listen, she would love you just the same. I remember very well, even though I was maybe 8 years old, I had a real attitude problem with my dad. And she told me, Rusty, you shouldn't talk like that to him. You shouldn't do that. How do you think that it makes him feel, she asked. And she got me to think about not just popping me on the mouth, but got me to think about what I was doing myself. I know we all have examples of things like this that we remember about her. Everyone knows that if you went to Evelyn's house, you better be prepared to eat and to drink something, whether you wanted it or not. She could not accept somebody into her house without providing for them. Right up until she could no longer speak, no longer get up on her own, she would provide for you. And even after she lost her strength and her ability to get up and even her voice, she would write notes and ask, do you want something to drink, something to eat? For Audie and Lori and I, who grew up almost next door, that meant that we were always over at her house, usually uninvited, but always welcome. For Lori, it was a bowl of smack ramen soup, fresh and hot off the stove, with a little ice cube in it so she wouldn't get burned. If you said you didn't want anything, you'd have it within a couple of minutes, whether you liked it or not. If you did, you'd still have it in a couple of minutes. Audie recalls, he says, the many bean burritos that he grew up on over at her house. He also recalls what a shining example her and Grandpa were of a strong family and a determined marriage. And he's thankful for their example of determination to make a marriage last through good times and through bad times. He loved Grammy and Grandpa very much as well. Dad says he remembers always taking care of his mama, as he called her. And that he loved her with all of his heart. He says he remembers how from even a little boy he was always there to take care of her and to look out for her and to watch out for her, though they had many difficult times. We all love her so very much, and her loving kindness, her examples to us are things that should stick with us through the rest of our lives. I hope they do. Our little Grandpa Burnley passed away from us on January 20th of 2009. And Grammy missed him so very much and could hardly bear to live without him. She never stopped missing her man, and right up to the end, thoughts of Grandpa would bring tears to her eyes. She lived out her purpose here on earth very steadfastly, but she could not wait. She longed for the time when she could be reunited with Grandpa. She lost the use of her voice several months ago, and it worsened, and finally, she was unable to really eat or drink anything at all. Thankfully, she was able to remain in their home. Being hospitalized only a few days, she returned home on hospice where she could be in peace, surrounded by her family and friends. And she passed from us early Monday morning. Grammy had no fear of death, though. She was ready and she was prepared. Philippians chapter 3 and verse 20, Grammy knew that her citizenship was in heaven, and who by God's power would transform her lowly body so that it would be like His glorious body. Grammy's suffering from her tired body is over. She's already been transformed. She's been given a new body. We don't need to mourn for her and be sad for her. The loss is for us that we must deal with. 1 Thessalonians 4 and 13 says that we should not be ignorant about those who fall asleep and have passed on. And we shouldn't grieve like the rest of men, We believe that Jesus Christ died and he rose again. And we believe that God will bring with Jesus those who have fallen asleep in him. So it is for our loss that we grieve. Grammy is in the very presence of God right now. The place where our true citizenship lies. And we will be reunited with her again when God so chooses to do so. God does not take lightly the death of his children. He values us so greatly. Psalms 116:15 says that precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. Our lives and our death is very precious and important to God because it is a reuniting with him. It is a completion of his plan to provide us with an eternal home. It's a display of power over death because Grammy lives on. Her body was tired, it was worn, and now that it is gone, she is not gone. She lives on. Her spirit will live where it now belongs. Art Sullivan wrote a poem for Grammy, perhaps describing her feelings without Grandpa and considering the time when she might be again reunited with him. It was a bad day. You left me here all alone. You left behind all your worldly possessions. You promised you would see me again. My life has lost all meaning. I looked forward to seeing you again. Seemed like forever until now. I can almost see your face. You are very handsome as I remember. You are getting closer. My heart is starting to race. I can feel your presence as tears come. Your hand reaches out for me. You kept your promise. It's a happy day. Happy trails to you, Sully. We love you and we miss you, Grammy. You will always be with us. Jenny gave me a note she would like me to read as well. I'm the youngest out of 4, Jenny Lee, she says. My mother and I always seemed to bump heads, probably because we were just alike. She was a very protective mother. I could never really go out anywhere unless it was to go to church or, of course, to Bible study. I never once got to go to a high school dance or to a concert until I was 18 years old. My mom, who was a lot of fun, she had a great sense of humor and was just a lot of fun to be around. We always went to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday nights. She was always there when times were hard and always made the best of the situation, whatever it might be. I remember that one time it was my birthday and she made a cake and the cake fell in, but she put the frosting on it and made it look very good. Then we all sat down and we ate the whole thing, she says. I think I was around 8 or 9 years old. I also remember when we lived on 29th Street, I would take off to go and play with my friend Roxanne, and we wouldn't tell anyone where I was going. And when they found me, I was told, I'm going to call Mother Higgins, the home for children that don't listen. Debbie and Sherry would tell me that too. Evelyn Marie Click was a very loving wife, mother, grandma, and great-grandma. Her and my dad, after being married almost 60 years, were still in love like young kids. She will definitely be missed. My beautiful, sweet little mom, I love you, Jenny. And Jenny says she truly believes that she is with Grandpa now. We will ask if there's anybody that would like to share a memory of Grammy, something that they remember about her and want to share with everyone. You can do that now at this time. After you're done, we'll start the slideshow again for those who didn't get to see everything and watch a small slideshow of Grammy and Grandpa and some memories. So I'll open it now if anybody has something they would like to share.
Lori wanted us to sing songs, and it was a song that Grammy enjoyed. In the Gold Books, number 306. Number 306 is The Life of a Flower. Sing all three verses. As the life of a flower has a breath or a sigh, so the years that we live as a dream hasten by. True, today we are here, but tomorrow may see just a grave in the veil and the memory of me. As the life of a flower has a breath or a sigh, just a couple quick words. Whenever I'm asked to speak about one of these events, memorials, I always try to think of what the impression that was made on me by those who passed. For Granny, for Evelyn, there was two things that just stand out to me more than anything. One was she's probably one of the most humble people I ever met. Anybody that knew her for very long at all, would say, if you ever asked her to get up in front of anyone or do anything that would bring attention to herself, she'd say, oh no, I couldn't do that. And that's not a bad thing. We're told a lot of good things about humility in the Bible. Humility. If we look around us, those who are humble and have that gentle spirit, it's something we can learn from Granny. The other thing is her tenacity. If you kids may not know what tenacity means, it's a word that means stubborn, but in a good way. She was definitely stubborn in a good way. As anyone who's been around for many years knows, she was one of the last of a group here that came together here and built this church building, built the Cloud9 community here, and they lived here, and they bound their lives together. And she was stubborn in that. She was tenacious. And we asked her, Grammy, why don't you come out and live with us, and let us help take care of you. Nope, I'm going to live right here. I'm going to stay here. And that's where I'm going to be. And She's the last one that I know of that still lives here in the park, or lived here in the park. So that's another good thing that we can learn. Sometimes, when it comes to something we love, something we want, be tenacious, be stubborn, stick to what we know is right, what we know is good, and build those good things.
The only word that I think of when I think of Evelyn is beautiful. The Bible says the gray hair is a crown of splendor for the aged, and no one had more splendor than her.
Not many of you guys know this, but when Bernie and Evelyn moved to Sierra Vista, Jenny and I became really close friends. Evelyn became my second mom. Every day she picked us up from high school. We went to Sonic. Bernie and Evelyn didn't have a lot of money, but man, she would dig in that purse and she'd have us a Coke at least 3 times a week. Jenny and Evelyn would bump heads, and I'd sit there and get so mad at those two. And her hair, as sweet Evan said, but she'd get so mad at it, and she'd have those expressions like, she'd get so mad. But she was so dear to me because she was always there and she always cared. I think she'd have $1 million if she'd pay for all her worry. All the time she worried. It was because she loved with the very whole of her heart, and she cared always about every little thing that you did, and would always want Jenny and I to walk right, do what was right. We'd laugh. She would make you laugh. I can't even express how much laughter we had. Jenny and I and Dawn and Julie Hayes, we had it all planned out. We'd go to Dawn's house. Her mom would fix a salad one day because Buena let us leave for lunch. And the next day we'd go to Mom's house and we'd have roast beef. And the next day we'd go to Evelyn's and she would fix, I don't know if you guys would remember, but her famous chili pie with ground beef. And the other day, well, about 6 months ago, I fixed it. And Jeffrey's like, why haven't you fixed this before? I remembered it, and it was Evelyn who taught me how to make that. And every time I make the chili pie, I think of sweet Evelyn, my mom in high school and all. She'd get so mad if Jenny would jump on the back of the bike, the motorcycle, and poor Jenny's toes never been the same since. She loved and she cared so much. And she had that, I can't imitate her, but she'd do that expression. She'd go, ugh. She'd get so mad at something. And she'd get so frustrated with that beautiful hair of hers. And I'd always tell her, she's such a beautiful, caring lady. And she called me 3 years ago, and we talked for about 45 minutes. At the end of that conversation, she just told me how much she loved and how much she cared. And how much that she'd always be there. But Evelyn was like my mom, and I wanted to tell you guys what a beautiful person that she was to me, and how she inspired me in my life.
So, we're going to read this for my mom, Mindy. Since the day I met my Grammy, I fell in love. There was no place I would rather be than with her. I've been going through all of my memories trying to pick my favorite one. But now that she's gone, they all seem so special. She was my everything. I will miss her and everything about her. I will miss her laugh and her smile. I will miss her hugs. I will miss our phone calls. She was always there to talk to, and she always made me feel better. When we would finally hang up, we always had trouble saying goodbye. I will always miss the smell of her house. I know her basket of orange things from Tombstone still sit on her shelf, but she is gone and it won't smell as sweet. I will miss her calling me every name of my cousins, sisters, and sometimes aunts before getting to mine. And we would just laugh after a while. She was just so funny. I will miss sitting at her kitchen table and just visiting, looking at pictures, eating, drinking coffee, and laughing. She had a great laugh. I could go on and on. I will miss you, Grammy, most of all, just you. And then she wrote, it's called Our Goodbye. All right, Grammy, I'll let you go now. Okay, hon, I love you. I love you too. Bye. Tell Gramps I said hi. I will. Love you. Tell the girls I love them. I will, Grammy. I love you. I love you too. Okay, bye. Thanks for calling. You're welcome. I love you. Okay, bye. Bye again. Bye. Love you, Grammy.
Anybody else like it?
One of the things I'll kind of always remember at Grandma, she was never afraid to put that Bible in your hands. I don't know how many times we got in trouble. How many times we run amok to the place and just drive her nuts going in and out the door, in and out the door, and she'd sit you down and put that Bible in front of you and tell you to read it. And I got to spend a little bit of time with her here, just let her know that, there's a lot of years that I didn't have that Bible in my hands, but there's been a lot of time here where it's the relationship with God's gotten a lot better, and I wanted her to know that it was her and Grandpa Burnley that just seeing them living the way they lived, the relationship that they had, all the rocky times that they had over the years, and they truly loved each other. They were a true example of what a relationship, 59 years, that's amazing. But, she was just a beautiful woman. And like Joanne said, she worried about everybody. Anybody, everybody. She worried more than, I've never met a person that worried like she does. She had so much concern and care and love for each and every person that she knew, but things I'll always remember about her, and things I see, just in hobbies that we have of four-wheeling and hunting and fishing. Every time I see a bait cast reel, I remember the time that Keith and I got to go to the lake with them. We didn't ever get to really go to the lake with them too often, but we were up at Roosevelt Lake, and we pulled that orange boat that Doc had there. He pulled over to the side, and it was kind of an emergency deal. He ran up over the hill. He had to use the restroom. And so while we were sitting there waiting, Grandma said, well, let's fish. And so she grabbed one of his bait cast reels, which hers was the push button, but she wanted that bait cast reel. And Keith and I, we got out and we were walking, we're flipping our little lures, you know, and she had that kind of fussy sound. I think it was Joe I made a minute ago. And she's sitting over there pulling on the string, and she had this big rat's nest in that fishing reel. And I walked over there, and she was real worried, you know. She said, I don't know what to do. I'm not supposed to touch this fishing reel. It's ruined, you know. And I don't know how it got out, because I get a rat's nest in a bait cast. I usually cut the line and start over. But somehow that just pulled right out. And right as it pulled out of there, she reeled it back up, and he come walking over the hill, and she was so happy. You know? But I just remember the you know, camping trips. It's been a long time since we've done something like that, but I remember you never put her in the passenger seat going up a high cliff road, you know, a drop off. She hated heights. She was very afraid of heights. She didn't like fast. Don't go fast. You know. She was always a lot of fun. She was a very fun woman. She was a beautiful, God-fearing woman. And I hope to see her again one day. So, thank you all for being here.
I remember one time we were going up in a blazer there, going up the side of the hill, and she said, "Stop the car, I'm going to get out and walk." I said, "Stop the car." Every time I look at that back spot in the corner right there where Grammy used to sit, I can always see her pretty gray hair and her hair braided to the side. Long white dress she always used to wear, just sitting there with her hands crossed. Every time I look back there at it, it just makes me want to go crazy, but she is truly where she deserves to be. Anybody else have anything they'd like to share about Grammy before we continue on?
Come on, Bill. That's fine. Come on.
When we had the funeral there in Tucson, I didn't get up and say anything, even though I had a lot of things on my mind. And so I thought, well, probably a number of you are here today that were there. So I wanted just to go back a number of years. I doubt if there's very many people here older than I am. And so I turned 88 in January. I never thought I'd live past 50 or 60 because when I grew up, 60 years old, you know, you were over the hill. And but probably in the mid-50s, I'm going to say. Sewell and I opened the doors of 21st and Country Club in 51. And right after that, Brother Rainey and Fern, Grandpa to you, Grandpa Rainey and Fern, I got to speak with them and talk to them. And we didn't have to study but just a short time because they were going down North Country Club. They built a new building down there and hired a young preacher out of Evelyn Christian College. And he thought he was real smart. And so anyway, they accepted the truth right away about the many things that we discussed. In fact, I think they were already probably of the same mind. In fact, probably knew the Bible a little lot better than myself and Sewell because we still were in our 20s. And so we really got acquainted very much with Fern and Stanley. I remember one time, you know, being with Fern and Stanley, and she was telling some stories. And, you know, she just had that way of dry humor, where she could just keep you cracked up all the time, you know, with her stories. She told us about one time she was in Kansas City with Stanley, and they were on one of those loops, and it was raining, and the car went dead. So he went out, popped up the hood, and another fellow come along, So she said, well, I got out, got under the hood too. I figured I was just about as qualified as any of them to look under that hood. And it was just things that she just really, kept us going. And then Bernie and Evelyn, of course, I loved them very much. And as some of you know, and sometimes we don't like to bring up the bad side of a person, but Bernie would do anything for you. He was one of the greatest bricklayers to lay brick back in those days. And this is how come Johnny here learned to be a great bricklayer and block layer. But even as Bernie got older, I think you would be Johnny that you couldn't keep up with your dad. And he was really fast. He was really good. But back in those days, those early days, Bernie was an alcoholic. My dad, through the Depression, was an alcoholic. And I knew what it was till after those years. Johnny, when you were about 6 or 8 years old, we got together and bought you a pair of glasses. I don't know if you remember. And oftentimes, when Bernie would get the paycheck on a Friday afternoon, he would disappear for maybe 6 weeks. And nobody would know where he is. And when he came back, somebody found him walking down the street. He didn't want to explain where he'd been. And the reason I'm telling you this story is they moved here. When you say about 74? Was it Rusty about 74? They came here. And Alvin and I moved here in 65. And 68 we built a little log cabin that they're talking about there. And I remember sitting in the pickup with Bernie. And Bernie was just shedding crocodile tears. He was just so tore up. And he said, Bill, and he was crying. He said, I want to be like you. I want to be like Sewell. And so patiently we worked with Bernie. And it wasn't long. Like my dad. My dad, one time after everybody, all the kids had left, he just quit. Nobody understood how. Nobody could ever get him to quit before. But he just quit. And for the last number of years in his life, my dad would give you the shirt off his back. And the only thing anybody could ever say about my dad was that he always got any money. We worked, got some money, went down the drain. And so it was kind of that way with Bernie. But he came here in 74. He sat in the pickup, and we talked. We talked a little bit after that. And then again, he just quit. He just quit being an alcoholic. They say, well, if you ever are one, you'll always be one. Well, Bernie never was. And I just want to, we showed him the scriptures. Of course, he knew the scriptures pretty well. And we talked to him about all of the advantage, and he was so sorry for his past life. And as the kids were raised up. But, I give God the glory. And that's the only reason I'm standing here right now, is to show you that the power of the gospel can change. Change an alcoholic, change whoever it is. And it changed Bernie for the rest of his life. And he was my fishing buddy. He and I always go fishing. I didn't care to go fishing with anyone else except Bernie. And of course, Evelyn, she never objected. Even when we went, stayed all night or something, she accepted that. And of course, I was with Evelyn a lot too, and I just come like the rest of you to really love her and appreciate her as a sister in Christ that I ever could. Anyway, some of you may know about, some of you brought up the fact that one day, in fact, the last time I think Bernie and I went fishing, he had a bad knee. And so at Roosevelt Lake, I think it's that long ramp that goes way down. And we parked the boat down there and parked the truck way up there, up on top. And so we got ready to get the truck, go down, get the boat, and leave. I could not find the keys. I drove the truck. I couldn't find the keys. And we had stayed at a motel that's about 5 miles away. Well, what are we going to do? There was nobody around. And I didn't have my cell phone, couldn't call anybody. And so here we are, stuck at Roosevelt Lake. So he'd go crippled. I see him hobbling down. I didn't realize he was as bad as he was with that knee. He'd go back to the boat and look around. And he'd come back up the hill, and I would look toward the truck trying to find him. And it dawned on me where the keys were we had a little cooler in the back of the truck, had a little side pocket, a zipper on it. And I walked over there and I zipped that open, and I said, Bernie, he looked at those keys, and he couldn't believe it hardly. And I think that's the last time we were ever able to go fishing. I have been fishing since. I don't seem to have a desire to go fishing as I did since I lost my part. But Bernie and Evelyn have been both a real blessing to me and to so many. And I'm very happy to be here to tell you that. Thank you, Rusty.
Well, I just want to say something for Debbie and Sherry, and because I know how much they love Mama, and how much they gave to her, tried to care for her. So I just thank Sherry so much for her efforts, so much with Dad and with Mom, for her long suffering and being able to be so patient and caring. It's truly a blessing, and it's truly a gift from God when someone can be like that and care for others and without caring about yourself almost. And Debbie too, and Jenny, and all of us, all